So today we're going to do a fascia release class in order to kind of unwind the body and open it up. We will be working on the back line of the body, so let us start by just moving up either side of the spine. We can have imbalances between the right and left side, so we want to unwind them a little bit. I would take a pearl, a gray, or a gold ball to start with. And before we actually start moving up a side, we're going to stimulate the center of the sacrum. So, because there's a lot of energy that's locked up in there. So lying on your backs, I'm hiking my hips up and getting them on the ball on the sacrum, and then putting my feet down. If this is too intense for you, you can take a lower ball. So set yourselves up for that, and I am adjusting the camera so it has a different, more focused in on the floor orientation. Wow, okay. Camera, that'll work. Why have I become dark? Excuse me, everybody. It's ongoing. I set everything up for full view, but we will be, okay, this will work. I'm just staying close. So here we are on the sacrum. And in this position, take a breath in and then just press straight down into the ball. So you're putting pressure into that part of the back and the base of the pelvis, because it gets tight. Those bones get tight. People can, sciatic nerve is a pinched nerve in there. So we just want to feel the pressure. It should feel good. Then relax and start to gently tilt the tail up and down. So it's the ball should have the full spectrum of the sacrum, the tail, maybe the top of the pelvis. So you're literally massaging this area. As you curl your tail under a little bit, I want you to feel how this part of the thighs lengthens. So the thighs actually elongate out of the hips in that direction. So just back and forth a few more times. And one more time up. Hold the position and just very slightly move from right to left. And as you do this, think of the fact that you're actually widening all the area where the glutes connect in with the sacrum, and just stimulating the bone and the attachments of the muscles. You may find segments of area that are grippy, so just be aware of that. You can also do this work very much at your own speed, because you can, if there's an area that feels extra sensitive, you want to stop and give it a little rub. Come back to the middle and now rotate. Notice that I'm taking my two hip bones. Each of you will figure out where the right place, the sweet spot that feels good for you. Work dropping down one side a little bit and then roll just a little bit down. So you're taking the tissue and pulling it away from the sacrum. Roll back to the center and then roll a little bit to the other side, dropping down. So you're widening the glute on the side that's high, away from that central line of the sacrum. Back again. Take a breath in here. Lengthen. Start to feel that you're creating lengthen, because we're looking to have a very elongated back. And on the exhale, roll down and hold that. Breath in and breath out, and lengthen down. One more time, breath in. Lengthen down to the first side. Maybe you want to go a little bit further. This is an interesting twist in the pelvis that's not, you may feel repercussions into the ribs. Inhale and exhale to the other side. From here, roll a little bit further up. So the ball is come a little bit higher. So now it's the top of the sacrum and the top of the pelvis. Central. Take a breath in. And on the out breath, just put pressure into that part of the spine, an area that a lot of people get a lot of pain in that area or instability. So you're just putting pressure into the area. Breath in, lifting a little bit, breath out, pressing down. One more time, breath in, breath out. Now, with the pressure in again, slightly tuck the pelvis and slightly arch. So very small micro movements with that pressure into the top of the sacrum, rolling up into the pelvis, maybe all the way up to the waist because the balls are large. And notice that when you tuck a little bit, depending on what your back is like, there's a little bit of elongation. If you're one of those people where your spine is too flat, the elongation will happen actually when you're arching. So some of these cues are very individualized to our anatomy and our weaknesses and strengths. Find that place where you feel you're long and elongated, and putting my hands on the floor and pulling my spine a little bit away. So what I've now done is moved the ribs as far away from the pelvis and now push down with the ball to create more length into that area. Roll up just a little bit. So again, we're massaging the center line of the spine right now. Lengthen down, so creating that length. One more time. And down the middle, all the way to the tailbone. See if you can feel that you're lengthening it to there. Now we're moving to, I'm going to my right side. So towards the camera, I've moved over a little bit. Breathing in here and pressing down. So now it's the side of the sacrum. Breathing in, pressing in. One more time. Breathing in, pressing in, and now rolling up a little bit further. Breathing in. By the way, if the ball is big and you're more comfortable here, that's fine. So you kind of figure it out, because now we're going to be focusing every area and where this ball is putting pressure. One more time. Breathing out and very slightly micro move the ball to the side to widen the back. Just feel that pressure. Move it back towards the spine. I'm lifting up now and moving a little bit further down. So now I am on my waist area. Breathing in, pressing down. I've got a slight pelvic tuck. Breathing in, breathing out, pelvic tuck, and now arch. So when you do, let's now move up and down a few times. As you do this, what you want to think of is that you're creating space where the ball is putting pressure and then rolling further up. I'm going to move back so I stay in camera. So now the ball is at the top of my waist, beginning of my rib cage. Now the hips is probably down for all of you. You can have your hands by your head or on the floor. Breathing in, breathing out. Now notice that as you go down, you don't want to inflate the ribs. You want to imagine that you're taking your whole trunk and creating a lot of length in there. So the pressure is softening the bones and allowing them to spread and widen and keep the waist long. So a lot of different things are happening. This is where you may start finding that you have twists in your body. Take a breath in, press into the ball and roll further up. So now the ball is close to the bottom of the rib cage. I'm going to turn a little bit. Breath in, pressing into that side of the spine, your side of the spine, ribs. We're now dealing extensively with the lats. Now notice this is curved, this is arched, somewhere in the middle. So I'm not a completely lax position, but I'm attempting to create as much length as I can. As much length as I can. Now from here, see if you can pull the shoulder blade forward. Notice that I'm spreading it because now I'm going to roll to the side because I'm going into the lats, just arcing into the sides of the ribs. Rolling back towards the spine. So we're widening those ribs, widening the lats. Breath in, press into the ball and move further up. Again, we'll stimulate this area, pressing into it, pressing into it. Again, pressing into it. Now again, the shoulders, I'm bringing the arm forward so that the shoulder blade widens. You can even pull the shoulder blade up a little bit because it frees up more of the ribs. Or you can have it on the side. It doesn't, you do use it the way it works for you because now we're spreading the shoulder blade, spreading the ribs, and stimulating the whole side back of the rib cage to open and widen. So we're working into our lats. Roll back and roll a little bit further up. So now we're high on the shoulder blade on the side of the spine. Breath in, pressing in here. Breath in, pressing in again. You want to be very aware that the shoulder blade is widening. Sometimes I'll internally rotate to get all of that width. One more time. And again, rolling out towards the top of the shoulder. Roll back. And this is where it's going to be fun because we're going to roll to the top, to the neck. Now it's in the side of the neck, so it can feel funny. Just get yourself as organized as you can be, but it's a wonderful place to start to stretch the back of the neck out. We all get tight here. So take the arms and pull them down. Take a breath in and press into the ball. Breath in, press into the ball. One more time, breath in, press into the ball and slightly turn your head. Notice that there's a certain amount of pressure that shifts because we're getting into different neck muscles. Bring the head back, roll in the opposite direction. Roll back one more time. So the body's not moving. We're just stimulating and freeing up also little tiny areas right at the top where the neck connects to the skull. Get as much stretch as you're able to get with pressure. Back. Roll in the opposite direction. We're kind of moving off the side of the neck when we turn in the opposite way, but we're freeing the rotation. Now from here, the ball is kind of between the shoulders and the neck, into the side. I love this. Oh, so we're grabbing the whole trapezius muscle right here at the top, which gets so tight, so congested. Bring this elbow forward so you're not lying on it. And just, your first option, if it's very tight, is just to relax, like on a pillow. Try to find that way that the body's letting go. Once you have that, if you want to amp it up, you can get more active where you push in, roll into the ball to slide the shoulder down. Take a breath in and press your head over. Breath in, press your head over. We all have tightness there. You can roll a little bit as you're doing this to get even deeper into the muscles on the side. You can even find how it may affect your jaw and face. Breath in, and one. Now we're going to roll just a little bit further forward. Just so I'm taking this elbow and I'm just rolling I'm lifting the chin a bit, and you're rolling towards your Adam's apple, but not quite. Just to stretch a little bit deeper into the front. And very slowly, respecting your own physiology, roll back, roll back, roll back, and see if you can settle onto your back again. Ball is at the side, and we're going to come off the ball. So very important, because you've stretched the neck. Grab your head, lift it, and put your head down. So don't try and use muscles for this. Just lay for a minute and lengthen your legs out as well. And just check your own kind of how you feel, and notice if anything feels different on one side than the other. And I'm hoping it does. I sure feel far more spacious myself. To start in on the other side, I'm moving back up again because I'll be moving down. I'll get my balls now. We'll start lifting the hips up, getting the ball, and then moving the ball to the side. So it's just on the side of the sacrum. See if you can get a sense. This is my twisty side. See if you can get as even as you're able to. So we will start the journey with the ball quite low, close to the tail. Breathe in, curl a little bit. Breathe out, press into the side of the sacrum, maybe the side of the tailbone. Breathe in, breathe out, pushing into this area. One more time, breathe in. Breathe out, pressing in. Find a little where the sweet spot is for you. Lengthen your waist and roll the ball up a little bit. So top part of the sacrum, side of the pelvis, maybe moving into the waist area a bit. Breath in and push into this side. Breath in, press down into the side. Sometimes I'll even roll a little bit to get more pressure. It just feels so delicious. Breath in, press. Keeping this length, roll a little bit further up with the pressure down into, so now it's a waist area, top of the pelvis, maybe even touching the sides of the ribs. Breath in, press into this area. Breath in, press. So that area, one more time, gets a lot's going on because we get a lot of tightness in our lower back. So let's keep the pressure there and gently work the pelvis. Very slight movement. It's very subtle. What you're trying to find is where is the tight areas in the QL, the quadratus lumborum, and then the beginning of your obliques, that you can kind of start to elasticate more and restore more of a nice, juicy hydration into that tissue. Press and slightly widen. Come back to the middle. Breath in, lengthen the back in that area, press, and slightly widen out again. One more time, I'm coming back toward the side of the spine. Breath in, pushing down, and slowly widening out. So delicious. Back towards the side of the spine, so I'm on my left side, further away from you. I'm coming up, pushing in and rolling a little bit further. You may, now let's play with lifting and curling the spine up and down. Each of us has different heights. Some of, I'm 5'6", so we want to just work this in relation to what our body height is. There's no exact formula. It's very specific, but very personalized how you work this. Come a little bit further, so now we're down. Get my shirt back. And here we are. Breath in. Now I'm starting to do the lever from my upper back versus my lower back. Both are very effective. Breath in. Long rib cage, pulling away from the waist without that. So we're staying very elongated. One more time. Lengthening. So as I am now in touch with my rib cage, I'm starting to roll out to the side. Pressing and widening those lats, widening those low ribs, making sure I'm not arched. Coming back. Pressing in and rolling a little bit further up. So the ball is now on my back, side of the spine, in the ribs fully, maybe skimming the low part of the shoulder blade. Breath in, breathing out. So a few times we stimulate this area. As you're doing this work, think of separating every vertebra in the spine and also widening the ribs. So all of the muscular structures of the ribs are going sideways and the back is becoming flatter. For a lot of us, it's too rounded and it doesn't move much. So we're decalcifying a lot of the tightness in it. Then start, rolling that ball out. You're grabbing your lats and you're rolling and widening them all the way out towards the side of the ribs. Oh, does this feel good? I hope it's really good for you. Coming back, I'm just adjusting a bit. I'm going to turn this way so I can be visually clear. From here, breath in, pushing into the ball, rolling up. Now I am most definitely on the side of the spine and the bottom of my shoulder blade. Now, interesting point for the shoulder blades. If you see I've pulled my shoulders up a little bit? I'm not hiking them this way, but I'm creating more length and potentiating more options in my rib cage. So I invite you to do that because it'll expose more tissue that you want to have very mobile and strong. Breath in, press into the ball. Breath in, breath out into the ball. One more time, breath out into the ball and start rolling out, widening, keeping the pressure into the ball. This work, if you are doing it on your own, if you find a sweet spot that's very tight or you're feeling resistance, it's an incredible opportunity to take more time to visit it and figure out how you're holding tension there. What needs to kind of let go? What's in the subconscious making it stuck? Lovely, lovely work. Breath in. Breath out, back into the ball, rolling to the top part of the shoulder blade, side of the spine. Again, the goal is to widen everything. Again, if you pull the elbows in towards each other, you make sure they're wide on the back. We're widening the back. Between the shoulder blades, there's a group of muscles called the rhomboids. They can get really tight. We want them long and powerful. They're very key for posture. So remember, not here. See if you can find a way to get flat and pressured. Breath. Press in, stimulating the side of the spine, stimulating the muscles between the shoulder blade, stimulating the inside edge of the shoulder blade. And slowly take your time, rolling and ironing out that shoulder blade into the side. Nice. Wide back. Shoulder blades can have a lot of tightness in there. back towards the spine. Breath in, breath out, and roll up towards the side of the neck. Love this stretch. This is where the computer world comes out of us. Breath in, breath out, lengthening the muscles on the side of the neck. Breath in, breath out, pushing into those muscles. Another place you can play with is lifting the chin a little bit so you get into the top of the skull. Oh, I can feel the work all the way into the top of my forehead when I do that. One more time. Now, keeping the pressure, roll your face to the side so you'll feel the shift in the muscle structure. I keep checking on my shoulder blades wide. That's one of my obsessions right now. Back. And then roll in the opposite direction, which is giving me personally a lovely stretch. One more time. Oh, my dog. And back. Other side. And back. I have my girl Laura coming to do my garden. And he loves her. He cries when she comes. I know she's coming early because we're having a heat wave. And he can't get to her. So he just ran out the back. Now you will start rolling. Take your time. This is such an opportunity to get into layers of muscles in the trapezius, these areas that get so chronically tight. You can really shift so much, release so much, and get so much lovely. Like this. So here you are on the side. Dig the ball down so it's pushing the shoulder down for extra stretch. Breath in. Press into it. Breath in. Press. One more time. Press. And then if you want to deepen the stretch, you can press your head over the ball. And just take another moment to find exactly what serves you. I love to work a little bit nodding my head. I can feel it pulling into my facial features. And it just feels like such a decompression. Take a moment to release, and we'll go a little bit further. So remember, you're going towards your Adam's apple, but not quite. And what really you're striving for is to make distance between the jawbone and the collarbone. So now I have to move my arm and roll a little bit further forward. This is very good for your throat, but it can feel vulnerable. So just do what you feel you can accept. Our bodies, oh, so good, are designed to be hydrated and slip and slide and have a lot of mobility. Then we're designed to receive pressure. Pressure is a very therapeutic thing for every part of our body, but we become dry and hard and brittle in certain areas, hence a vulnerability and the respectful reintroduction of sensations into areas that maybe got stiff. Here we go, lifting my head, ball is off, drop your head down. Take a moment. Bring your hands like a Shavasana position with the arms. And then lengthen your legs out to see what this feels like. Just take a moment. And also take a moment and bring your knees in, because our backs become so nice and long with the work we did. Notice what's happened to your shoulders. Notice what's happened in the rib cage. Just see what everything feels like, because we want to kind of capture all of these sensations. Also, lift your legs straight up to the ceiling. Notice if there's a difference in what is happening in the spine. Now, from this position, only if you want to, we're lowering the legs all the way to the floor, but before you go down, see if you can push your back into the floor. Now, as I'm pushing, I'm creating a tube. I'm not pulling my belly in. I'm actually solidifying this whole corset shape around the body. So you want to have that. See if you can take your legs all the way to the floor without losing your back contact, and then relax. If you felt your back arch, some of the problem is the hip flexors and the front of the quads are so tight. Again, this is, I would say, 90% of people are walking around over tight in the front because we're a sitting culture now for a variety of reasons. So the next place we will roll is actually into this area. So roll to one side, come up, and let us take now a smaller ball. You can work with your, if you want to be down and dirty, you can use a really hard ball. You can use the gold ball. I don't know where my gray ball is. So it's a medium-sized ball. I'm going to work with a pearl. Pearl and gray are interchangeable in size. There's no right or wrong ball you have to use for something. It's a very personal aspect. This is what we're going to be focusing on. We have our quad. It comes up and it attaches into the hip bone area. This area can get very, very tight. And when that happens, the hip flexors, it's one of the hip flexors, this area grips a lot. And then people have funny different ways that they live with that tightness as a chronic condition. We will take the ball, place it. So I'm here. Here's my hip bone, and I'm coming onto this hip bone to begin with. The other leg I'm hiking up. In this position, if you're completely relaxed, chances are your back is arching unless you have a very flattened back. So you want a little bit of support in this area, not to let the back shorten, because then you're going into the shape we're trying to kind of unwind and fix. So take a moment, get a sense of the pressing into the ball, and you may be slightly using your glutes for this. That's okay right now. I highly invite you, put your hands on your own lower back and just feel the muscles there. If your back is arched, they're going to make two cords on the sides of your spine. And if you're lengthening in there, they will flatten out and be less kind of grippy. We want that. If you need to go down to get that effect, that's fine too. You want that area very nicely not overworking. Then curl the toes under and a few times lift and lower the knee to get a sense of creating length in the front of the hip flexor and in the front of this whole shaft, right before we go down. Now from here, roll a little bit down. So now I'm just below my hip bone. I'm still in the pelvic area, kind of in the groin area. And you can adjust the other leg to work in whatever way that works for you. See if you can keep your hips nice and steady. Take a breath in. Press down and sink into the ball. So again, give it some pressure. Again, press into the ball. And one more time into the ball. Now, it's fun. If you bend and straighten the knee, you can feel something move in the area of the ball. That's the topmost area of rectus femoris, the biggest muscle in the quad group. And it's just, that's what we're stimulating. And in your imagination, can you create length there? Because that gets grippy and tight. Now I'm lengthening the knee a bit and rolling straight down into the mass of the front of the thigh. And this is where you may find it's easier to be down a bit. If you can, you don't want to arch. Now I'm giving into my natural shape. I'm letting my back be long. I'm missing the opportunity to create and encourage the muscles to be able to be straight and not bent. Take a moment, pressing in. Again, pressing in. And one more time, pressing in. Now, as there's more than one muscle, this is a great big muscle. We're going to stimulate all of them. So slowly roll across your thigh towards your IT band. So you're going to go 3/4 of the way across. And pause here. Again. Pause and press into this area. You may find it a little tender. And again, so you're rolling towards the side, widening the tissue of the muscle. Slowly roll back to the front. And slightly roll the ball towards the pubic bone. So I'm not rolling down, I'm staying parallel to the ground, but towards the pubic bone area. So I'm stimulating the inner groin, pubis, and again, the inner part muscles next to of the quads. Roll back to the central shaft. The shaft is like this big, thick mass, a ropey sensation that's your major muscle. Roll maybe 1/3 of the way down. Check your pelvis. Figure out what's your position. This is where I start to really find where my tightnesses are because I have to work to get here. Just for fun, can you bend and straighten the leg in order and work to get that muscle to get longer, not grip. It will shift, and the ball should help you kind of re-educate everything to work in a more upgraded level. And we'll roll to the side again. So breath in, sink into that mass of muscle as best you can. See if you can relax it, allow it to receive the ball, and slowly take your time. You may feel yourself clunking across some of those layers of different muscle towards the side. And then take a breath in here, press into the side. Feels so good. And slowly roll back. So you're also rolling this muscle and decongesting it in relation to the bone because you're literally moving the meat around and slowly moving a little bit. Now I'm moving my body to get more into the inner line. Back to the central line and roll yourself, pull yourself a little bit further. Maybe you're now 2/3 of the way down your thigh. Make sure you're straight down. Breath in, press into this area. See if you can relax and widen and soften this muscle. It gets very grippy. It gets grippy from bearing our weight and also from sitting. It's always in a shortened position. Pressing and sinking. See if you can find the entrance towards the bone. Slowly peel yourself again towards the side. Clunk, clunk, clunking over different mats. Take a moment here. This area can be raw. Roll yourself slowly back. See if you can keep that length. And then I'm moving my body to go to the inner side of the quad. And slowly come back to the central shaft. I'm going to move down because we're going lower now. Now we're going to pull even further down. So you're coming almost to the top of the knee, but not quite. Again, making sure the lower back is not decompressed, it's not shortened and contracted. So some support there. Sinking into the ball, you can take a little bit of a bend to lengthen that muscle more. Ask it to release. Sinking in. One more time, sinking in and rolling a little bit to the side. Into it's almost like almost to your IT band, but not quite. Back to the center. And then rolling across towards the midline, but without rotating. So you'll just start, you probably feel a whole bunch of clunk, clunk, clunks happening. Pull yourself all the way down so you're just above your kneecap, just for a minute. This is an area of a lot of attachments. Take a moment to put pressure into here. Get sense of the length of your leg. You want from the heel to the hip bone, and hopefully the leg feels like it's going straight down. And we will slowly be rolling right back up towards the front of the hip bone. So take your time and roll straight back through. This time we're not going side to side. See if you can track the middle of the quad. And now think of the fact that you're lifting the whole energy line and structure line of the front of the body upwards, bringing it all the way towards your hip bone. This is Twilight. He's come to help lengthen the hip bone away from the quad. So we're opening up that hip flexor just a little bit more. And then, gosh, you're in the way. You're in the way, my cat. Good boy. Yes, you're helping so much. So now I'm on my hip bone, and I'm going to roll just a little bit further up to lengthen that tissue all the way up into the waist. Just work into that area. It's like someone's grabbing all of the front line of your body and lengthening it, and then come on off. Just roll down for a minute. Lie down on your back and see what you feel like. See what this front line here, what kind of harmonic it has in relation to your back, because they're very interrelated. The length, now energetically, usually we need to lift the front and we need to ground the back. There's no fast and one way that energy flows. But that's a very common pattern because most people are frontally collapsed over. Not everybody, but many. Let's get to the other side. Twilight, will you help me? And stay where you are. So lying out on your ball on the hip bone. Laying it right down there. And again, checking. You could bring the other leg up to the side and or have it down, whatever you like. Some people like to take a second ball and put it as support, either under the hip or under your stomach. If you have it, I have it on my stomach now. I'm putting it on the side of my waist. And what that does is that, again, it keeps this from happening. So for some people, that's a really nice way to control the physicality You're so helpful. I'm so glad you love me. He's coming here trying to get a lot of attention. So nice and long in the lower back, long in the hip. Take a moment to stimulate this hip. And if you bend and straighten the knee very gently, if you have tightness in the hip flexor, it just starts to ask that area. There's many, many muscles that affect what we call the hip flexor muscles. So there's a lot of tissue and many different things, but we want to get all of them nice and long. Then roll a little bit off and down. So now we're in the groin area. Check that you're getting this pressure, and also be sure that the foot that's on the floor is not off to the side, not turned out, not turned in. Everybody's got patterns. We want as best we can to have it straight forward, and whatever it takes to get you there. In this place, remember what we did last. On the other side, we bend and straighten the knee. You can get in touch with where the top of the quad, the rectus femoris, is attaching into your hip bone. Because you can feel the muscle actually move. So cool. I love experiencing my own anatomy. So I'm going a little bit side to side to create, again, elasticity and create some just variability. We're not rigidified, we're more fluidic. And then move forward into the top of the mass of your thigh, usually very bulky. I'm going to move down so I can stay present. Yes. Breathe in and breathe out, pressing into this mass, keeping the leg long. Pressing in. One more time, pressing in. And then rolling to the side. So nice pressure into the side of the thigh. Towards the IT band. Slowly take your time. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure your spine is long. Roll back to the top of the quad. And then move the ball slowly towards the pubic bone. So you're putting pressure into the more inner parts of the front muscle bands. Bring yourself back to the top of that ledge. It's like a big, bulky cord. And move a little bit down. Now we're really into the muscle. See if you can release the grippiness of it. Sometimes this can take a bit of work. Breathe in. I like myself. I like this slight bending because it allows me to really fiddle around in there and figure out why I'm prioritizing the front of my thigh instead of evening out the hamstring and the quad in their function. One more time, breath in, sinking in, and now starting to roll towards the IT band. Rolling across all the different shafts of the front thigh. Taking a moment to sink into this area. Rolling it back across all those different, don't even know what to call them, big, cordy, clunky, stringy muscle. And then moving the pelvis a little bit over to get more to the inner line, where the quads are ending and we're getting into the adductor. So a lot of different things going on. Back to the center. Pull yourselves further forward. So Take a moment to find that center. You're like riding the ridge of that big muscle. You really want to get into it. You can work and cultivate your relationship with this muscle. You can sometimes track it because, we have sections of the muscle that could be underdeveloped, overdeveloped, and or being pulled into different muscle groups. Sometimes you'll feel you're sliding off the line and you want to stay right in the middle of the line if you can. And if you can't and you've slipped, it's all good. You're not doing any harm. Slowly roll through the muscle bands towards the side. Take a moment to sink in here. Roll yourselves back. And roll into the inner line. Roll back and bring yourselves further forward. So now we're almost to the bottom of the knee, top of the knee, but not quite. This will be our last across. Breath in, breath out. Different texture to the muscle here. Can you still track it? Maybe just sinking into it. Maybe making sure the breath is your tool. Staying focused into the sensation of what you're experiencing. Slowly rolling to the outside. Slowly moving through all of that tissue, making sure you're breathing to the inner line. So you're running across the top of rectus femoris towards the inner part of the thigh, front thigh, back to the center. Pull all the way up towards the top of your knee and just pause here for a minute. Feeling all of that pressure, you can move the knee very slightly from side to side, just to stimulate it. Take a breath in, out, and slowly move back up towards the hip. So take your time. Now we're lifting and stimulating the roll of the quad upwards, going until you get right through the front of the hip. I'm almost there, all the way, my hip in the wall. I'm going to have to bend the knee. Here I'm getting all the way to the hip, so now the hip, and then rolling into the stomach in the front to create even more length. Really, my legs should be straight, so I get all of that ironing out of the hip flexor all the way to the front, into really lengthening your iliacus, and then come on off. And again, take a moment, roll on your backs, and see what you feel like. I'm hoping you feel considerably longer, more open, and more in touch with the ground. It's such a lovely, lovely feeling. Take a moment to kind of enjoy, notice, and lock in feelings and sensations that you like about what's happening, because we want to always make a picture. Make a picture of what is an ideal situation. When the tissue is open like this, it is de-stressified and restored. So remembering that is important. Let's come to the side and come up to a sitting position. And even though we didn't do hamstrings, I would still like to see what you are experiencing. So pull the top, this area, the bottom of the hamstring, and over the sit bone and back. So we're doing two things. We're lengthening the hamstring. We're also lifting the glute area, glute muscles away from the attachment underneath. Check to see that your knees are straight. And bend forward. How far can you go from the hips? So we worked on the back and we released the hip flexors, so there you may be surprised that there's more length available to you. As you go forward, try not to just, if you round your upper back too much, do you see how you actually pull back? See if you can get the length. Just kind of test the feeling, because there should be more spaciousness for you. Bring yourselves up, and we'll go into a down dog to test that part. Okay, this is more the back line of the body. So hands under the knees, knees under the hips, feet in line, and check to see what your back. So I'm interested in the spine because we loosened that up. How much spaciousness can you get now? Can you feel, because we widen the back, that there's more traction into the shoulders, and the rib cage can get longer and flatter without needing to arch. We just want a long, long, long spine and nice support from the arms. Then come on down and lie on your stomach. And come onto your elbows, because we did lengthen the quads out. So curl the toes under and lengthen your hip flexors and lengthen your heels away. So I'm pulling the heels, the knees are coming off the floor for a minute to traction the quads that we just worked on. Then relax the knees, relax the toes, and check if you can lengthen this area that we want to be sure we're not over compressing lower back, and see what it's like to lift up into a cobra with the focus on those quads that we just loosened. You have more spaciousness there and more length to create an arcing in the spine to come up. I don't care how high you go, you can be more cobra, but focus on the opening that we just created here, because it's such a lovely, lovely opening that you can get for your whole body. So take a moment and then push back into your child's pose, lengthening out in opposition. And then come back. And I would like to, because again, we open hip flexors and quads, we'll go into a low bridge. Now, when you lift up, I'd like to bring the feet towards your buttocks. So remember, we worked on this area. Now I'm in a hip flexor, so I'm flexed. As we worked this area out, we opened and lengthened this band. We opened it down, and then we also opened it up. So when you open up, this hip is pulling up. So I just want you to be aware of all these different angles, because they are kind of our gift to play with our own anatomy. As you'll start lifting the hips, as you lift, see if you can get the same feeling, this traction here. So if you have a very flexible back, a lot of people fly up and get all the arc in the lower back. I'm interested in the opening right here. So it's as though someone's got a hand pressing up. If it's really open, it will go high. So just find your own length and your own space, because it's such a beautiful opening to get into, and you have all these lymph nodes here that get space and an ability to work. So just work into that for a minute. Roll yourselves down. Bring your knees into your chest. Bring yourselves up, and let's quickly work into the front of the shoulder. You will want gray ball, black ball, small ball. You can do it with a bigger ball. Take your choice. So we will just do one at a time. This area, so we have, this is our pecs. If you were the surface area. This band is your pec major. It runs under the breast. It's a big band of muscle. And pec minor is a smaller muscle. If you were to dig your hand underneath, like you had suspenders, you can literally feel underneath into the muscle that's an area that's right up against your ribs. In fact, if you can dig your hands in there and move a little bit, you'll feel something moving, and that's your pec minor. So we want to penetrate both those tissues as much as possible. They tend to get very tight. Taking a ball, let me see, how am I going to lie? I'm going to do my left side so I'm closer. So here's a ball. Just about where the armpit is ending, this area. We're just going to be working into this area. Place yourself into that area on the floor. So to begin with, how you have your hands is less important. Notice again, how much can I get the shoulder blade? So in fact, first of all, get yourself wedged in there. It's kind of this triangle, collarbone down. You're not in the breast tissue. You want to be in that corner triangle, in this area. So put pressure into this area and take a moment, take a breath. Press into it and sink. Because the other shoulder and side can get closer to the floor, you can get leverage. Press in and sink. And one more time. Press in and sink. And just move around a little bit. Find where it's tender for you. Because we love those tender spots. Those are the areas that are a little bit more rigidified and dehydrated, and they need a little loving care, you could say. Take the hand, put it out to the side. Notice I'm pulling my shoulder as far away as I can. A little bit hard to see on the camera, but if I was straight, it's right to the side. It's not up, it's not down. Do the best you can. Shoulder blade wide, and now I'm putting pressure into the ball, and I'm lifting the opposite side, and it's exposing all of the tightness. And just take a moment here. Take a breath in. Sink into wherever you are finding the tightness for you. Breath in. Oh, you can work the hand wider if it helps kind of get it deeper. We're really opening up and widening this part because, yes, we all sit and we do computer work. Nobody is not guilty of that. And our posture collapses and tightens. And so we want to get all of this juice. Come on off and do the same on the other side. So I got my hand to the side. I've got it bent first, so it's like this, because I want to have the camera show my rotation. Take a moment, take a few breaths, really finding where it's going to serve you. It's a big band of muscle, so there's any place you put pressure is going to have a harmonic that affects everything else in your body. So it is such a lovely process. We're really so connected up. It's like suddenly you hear some good news and everything, your belly feels good, your feet feel good. We respond holistically to everything. Then take your hand to the side, the hand with the ball in. And I hope you can see, I'm starting to roll a little bit this way, and I'm using the pressure of the ball to really elasticate that part that gets very, very tight, right close to the armpit area, but in front of it, so in my ribs. Just delicious. And very good for back bends, very, very good for posture. So we're basically widening this area. And then come on off. One more time, lie on your back. And check, see if you can get your shoulder blades nice and wide. And notice if maybe just maybe you're more open and more flat here. We flattened out the back of the ribs, so maybe your ribs are wider and not so frontal because we want to have a lot of lateral space in our skeletal system. And then extend your legs out and see what the front of the hips feel like and the length in that part of the body. So just enjoy the feeling. I hope it feels really good. It's kind of like a shavasana or falling asleep, being able to let go of everything and enjoy being supported, being open, and all this tension we worked out of our bodies. Bring yourself to one side and come up to a seated position. And as this was not exactly a yoga practice, but it was an honoring of our bodies and a visit into our anatomy to decompress, to decongest, and to bring more hydration and mobility and youthification. Let's just bring our hands to the heart center, to just take a moment and respect who we are. Respect that we took the time to take care of ourselves. Respect the fact that we're always discovering, we're not stuck, we're not limited, nothing's wrong with us. We're an unfolding journey to constantly awaken to new qualities to our life. So let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath in. And breathing out, bow our heads to our hearts. May the mind always be the servant of the heart. And then lift your head and open your eyes. And even though it wasn't a yoga class, namaste. The God in me salutes the God in you.